Whereas September 27th, 2023, a CSGO update just released. You quickly check the patch notes and realize that the game just changed a lot. Source 2 finally happened, and the game got renamed to Counter-Strike 2. This new game has changed a lot while keeping the core of CSGO. One of the most anticipated changes was that it brought sub-tick. Sub-tick was a new way to get around the limitations of tick rate. Hoping the game would be a lot smoother and all of your shots would hit, you launch the game as soon as it's ready. So you finally get to check the update yourself after the beta period ended, and whether it was instantly or not, or after the novelty wore off, something felt wrong. Yes, it's technically a new game, but there were a lot of issues and content was lacking. It was not what you expected it to be. But we're now 2 years later. Is the game better now? Does it surpass CSGO? Or do we just have to get used to this? I went back to every cs2 patch notes and looked for what I consider a worthy change. Whether good or not, something significant, or even small changes add up over time. I'll start by mentioning what I personally hated at release, then we will see if it ever got fixed, or at the very least improved. The first time I booted up the game, I went into a deathmatch to try out this new and supposedly superior netcode. And the very first thing I noticed was that sprays were horrendous. Tracers were invisible, there was next to no feedback on whether the target was hit, and there seemed to be a significant amount of latency. Next thing I noticed, just a few seconds later, shooting in general felt bad and laggy. And then I tried to bunny hop. I proceeded to cry for about a week. Some other things that were annoying but not game breaking were no CL right hand 0, that felt weird, no CL bob, which was much more noticeable than today, and the user interface was extremely blurry, though it's kind of on me as I'm still playing at 1024x768, but many modern games have more readable text at this resolution, so it's a small excuse. But it's been 2 years. Things have changed. Has any of that been fixed? I went through every patch note since release and picked some that seemed significant enough to be mentioned. Starting from September 28th, a day after release, to December 1st. There was a bunch of updates, although not that big and more about bug fixes as the game just released. I'm stopping at this patch as there were some sub-tick improvements and animation fixes that started to make the game a bit more playable and gave us some hope for the future. Alongside this patch and previous ones, they re-enabled workshop maps and allowed servers to use them. Weapons sometimes somehow shot at a faster rate than intended, and some minor networking and hitbox improvements. There were lots of map changes. I won't list most, if any of them, as I don't think maps are a problem in CS2. Other than the fact there are still fixable problems like the overall optimization and instead remove stuff from the maps, notably overpass. At this point, I don't think the game really feels that different from launch. Let's go up to February 7th, another decently big patch released. Arms Race, a launch mode for CSGO, is back, alongside its maps, package and shoots. Of course, we got a new case because we need more gambling. One of CSGO's most neglected weapons, the Zeus, gets an update. It's now reusable and now supports stickers and name tags. Picker's advantage got reduced, though still nowhere near fixed, and some more minor fixes, with the usual map updates. The next day we had a few more fixes and they removed CL interp. 5 months in and we already got more skins and fixes. From there to April 26th, where another decent patch released. Some view model changes make the game more bearable to look at. CL bob lower is not back, but it got reduced. CL right hand 0 is back, however, under the command switch hands, and has a ceiling. Finally, I can have something closer to my old view model. An official way to switch between left and right was added, which allows binds to pick corners in a certain way. An official grenade lineup reticle was added, and of course a bunch of small fixes and changes again. Going forward to August 14th. The demos I've complained about recently got some fixes. I've done all my tests well after this patch, so imagine how messed up they used to be. The chickens got some updates at least. They fixed teleportations when someone tagged you by changing how tagging works, instead of fixing the underlying issue. Oh well. Then we got some improvements to lossy connections. Oh yeah, and I guess you can rent cases now. Grid knows no bounds. August 19th. Another noteworthy patch released. After the snap tap controversy, Valve has taken a stance and got rid of nullbinds in general. In this patch note, Valve also mentions VACnet 3.0, though we all know how that turned out. I personally still saw literal spin pot since that's never got banned. October 29th, jumps has been inconsistent for over a year. This is now fixed. Sort of.
Oh. Fucking stupid ass motherfucking bitch game, man! Bitch ass.
In a previous patch, Valve also changed how local servers work to have less latency and to make the game look better in comparison to CSGO. It didn't work. latency was still much worse than Go, as I've tested around that time. A small jump to November 7th. Another decent patch worth mentioning released. Spray lag compensation was improved. It will bring the hitbox more into the past than it should. Some hit feedback adjustments, although nothing more was mentioned. Inverse kinematics were improved, so the character stopped being in strain positions when in slopes. Jumping to November 14th. Patches have noticeably slowed down compared to last year. The game is still horribly unresponsive and feels bad to play overall, so damage prediction was added as an attempt to make it feel better. It doesn't. Over a year, and the most important part of the game feels worse than other shooters, including all previous Counter-Strikes. January 28th. Premiere Season 1 finally ends after an entire year. July 16th. Premiere Season 2 ended 2 days before Season 3 starts. There was no mention of Season 2 ending in changelogs. July 28th. The first set of animations being updated for Anime Graph 2. Anime Graph had an issue where packet size was way too big. Anime Graph 2 aims to fix that. Only the first person animations and chickens got updated, so no improvement was seen yet. This is probably the most significant change in an entire year, although still incomplete. September 19th. A new collection, a new gambling system, grenade sounds, and most importantly, some minor subtic improvements. They did nothing other than make the servers lag a lot. September 26th. Some small bug fixes, including one which made Bunny Hop more usable again. Though it's definitely bound to change again as it's kinda OP like this, but I love it. This is, until today, the last noteworthy update in terms of gameplay. In over 2 years, Counter-Strike 2 has gotten a lot of changes, ranging from minor fixes to some more significant updates like the Anime Graph system and some of the subtic updates. But what got updated the most were the maps. They had countless changes of varying significance as well, and it would be a lot to go through everything. However, the most important part of the game still feels broken. The movement just recently got broken in a whole new way. Subtic still fails to deliver even 64 tick performance and feels sluggish at best, and the rest of the game, including community servers, is pretty much abandoned. Another thing I omitted was performance. It was updated pretty consistently in that time frame, yet players still complain about worse and worse performance, so I went and tested that. And the players are right. Performance has gotten a fair bit worse since release, somehow. The average frame rate went from 311 to 288, 1% loss went from 199 to 168, and 0.1% loss were pretty much the same, with 141 and 142, although the new version had widely inconsistent 0.1%, while some runs were higher and others much lower. So, it's been 2 years. How does the game feel now? Well, despite its many changes, few were actually dedicated to the feel of the game. Netcode still feels insanely broken, though not as bad as release. Movement is gone, and that hurt servers a fair bit initially. The anti-cheat has barely ever been mentioned, though that's not necessarily a bad thing, and many other things, though less important, take away from what a Counter-Strike game should be. So, performance is worse, subtic is slightly improved, fundamental gameplay changes were made to compensate for subtic messing it all up. Movement is gone unless you disapplique your inputs, and Valve are fighting on that. And of course you are Valve's wallet. After its initial weeks, cs2 got less and less updates, and I actually was surprised at how little the game had been updated this year. One of the game's creators doesn't understand why Valve insists on subtic. Players and pros alike feel like the game is lacking in so many areas. Recent example being Nico talking about how after 2 years the game is still not where it should be. The only thing we can be sure about though is that we'll keep getting updates. We'll definitely have map changes, and we will absolutely get new cases for our favorite casino. Happy birthday, cs2.